Okay, so in this video we are going to be rebuilding the differential. So before I start, I just want to show you something. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Okay, so I've zoomed in so I can show you something which I've found with my differential. You may have just seen it. There is rather a large amount of movement in this area here, and that is not very good. So this differential definitely needs a rebuild. Thankfully the kit that I've got comes with gears and a shaft and the spacers that go down the side here. So I'm going to take this apart, replace all the bits, and hopefully that will be good as new. First thing I need to do is undo these bolts, and they are quite tight. They've got a lock washer on as well, so knock back the washer and then you're going to need 5/8 spanner and a socket probably to get them off. So when you have taken these 6 bolts out, you will find the differential literally falls into 2 pieces. Now with it in those 2 pieces, this section will withdraw. However, to strip this bit down, the next thing you need to do is knock out that roll pin. You have to knock it out by hitting it from this side so it comes out this way. So once you've knocked that roll pin out, you should be able to take this pin out like so. And once that is out, the other parts should just come out. So these bits here are thrust washers as well. You do get a pair of those in the rebuild kit. Once you've taken those out, the last bit to come out is that. So that's the whole diff stripped down very quickly. So I'll clean up all the bits and rebuild. Okay, long story short, I've stripped everything down, cleaned everything up, and as you can see here, there's quite a vast difference. That's what it should look like. That's the new one you get in the kit. That one on one side wasn't too bad, and it's nice and shiny here. The other one, however, that is all that was remaining of the disc, and the only reason that was remaining is because it got pushed in where the phosphor bronze bushing goes. So this was actually rubbing against the inside of the metal cage. So hopefully I've got away with that and it will be alright. I'll rebuild everything and give it a go. Okay, so I've finished putting the differential back together. Nothing hard to do about that. The worst bit was tightening up the main crown bolts. You have to try and stop the whole assembly turning as you try to tighten them. Anyway, that is done. Then you have to knock over the tab washers, then you put the bearings back in. And if you want a tip on the bearings, the 1.5 inch socket, the deep one that you have to buy for the ball joint adjustment and is also useful for the big nut in the gearbox, also works really well for knocking the bearings on. Anyway, once you've got it rebuilt, it says put it back in the case, and what I'll do is I'll zoom in just so I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, so that's my Hylamar on, differential back in, okay, casing back on. I have made sure before I put these on that I've cleaned the surfaces very well. So now I've got the casing back on, I need to bolt it up, and you should be aware there are two, just focus please camera, thank you, there are 2 different sizes. They're both UNC, Unified Coarse Thread, but one is 3/8 and one is 5/16. So there are different torque values for each one. Okay, so I've got that diff cover back on and all the bolts are torqued up. The next part, as per the instructions, is to fit this side on here. But before I fit that, I need to put the little tubey in. That needs to fit in. You might have to wiggle the selector a bit. You then got the ball that needs to go in, and the spring. And don't forget, you actually have an O-ring to go on there as well. So I'm now going to fit the gasket and put that side cover back on. But what I need to explain, hopefully you can see that, hopefully the camera's focused, this bit here pushes against the bearing there, and this side you want it to push that quite nicely on this side. On the other side you want to shim the bearings. Now the reason you shim them is because every bearing has a clearance. If there was no clearance, the bearing wouldn't actually work. It needs a little bit of clearance to work. However, what you want to do is you want to put a little bit of load onto that bearing to stop it rattling around. So on the other side you shim it to get the right clearance on the bearings. Okay, so that is all I'm doing on the differential rebuild. I've had a few problems getting the shims correct. I've had a few problems with the thickness of gaskets, and also you may have noticed in that last video that I've actually stripped the thread in there. So I'm going to leave the shimming to another video. I've also already repaired this thread, and that is another video on how to use helicoils. Anyway, thank you for watching and stay tuned for some more videos. Thank you.